This is Greg again. Welcome back. This is the second part of. I just felt called to point out some bullet points about the worst things about ADHD. So this is part two, navigating the more hurdles of ADHD. Yesterday was the first part. I know it might seem a bit repetitive because I've already talked about ADHD before, but I just felt called to do this. So this is another minute in the clouds with Greg. Some more of the worst parts: sensitivity to stimulation or stimuli. Example: feeling overwhelmed in crowded or noisy environments. Sensitivity to stimuli is a major challenge for some of us with ADHD. Seemingly insignificant stimuli, such as flickering light or background noise, overpowering and distracting things that others might not even notice. And the hypersensitivity can be really exhausting, especially environments like a classroom or an office or work environment. It's a constant barrage of sensory information, and it can drain mental energy reserves quite fast, making it even more challenging to focus on tasks. It extends beyond external factors, and sometimes people with ADHD can be highly sensitive internally, and experience intense emotional responses that others would probably consider disproportionate to the actual event. And this internal turbulence can further compound an already difficult situation in managing tasks and interactions. It's important for us to recognize and appreciate this aspect of ADHD, because we people with ADHD, we put a lot of effort into filtering out distractions. Understanding the experience of hypersensitivity in relation to ADHD can help us to develop or help people to develop a bit of empathy towards those of us who struggle with that, and create a more accommodating environment. I think I shared one time I went over to there's a little church group that I was on the parking lot, and they had the music playing, and it was painful to me. It was so loud, it actually physically hurt inside my head. And then someone asked them to turn it up even more, and it really wasn't bothering anyone. They were having conversations, but then there was like side conversations, and I just couldn't do it. It's very inconvenient for us as well. And I really wish that it didn't bother me, because it makes it difficult. Difficulty in following instructions, example, missing steps in a process. Living with ADHD can be tough, especially when it comes to following instructions. People with ADHD, we often struggle to process and remember information, making it hard to carry out tasks as instructed. If it's do this followed by that, and it can affect work, school, and relationships. It's important that others be patient and clear when giving instructions to someone who has ADHD, not patronizing or anything like that. But trying to find strategies that works for us. People can help us break down things into smaller steps, can help us a lot. Using visual aids, a lot of people learn auditorily, visually, by doing practical, by reading. There's lots of learning styles, and by recognizing and addressing some of these challenges, we can improve things. Low self-esteem, doubting our abilities due to failures of the past. This kind of talks into imposter syndrome as well. Low self-esteem is undoubtedly one of the worst things about ADHD, as it often goes hand in hand with this condition, and constantly doubting ourselves or feeling inadequate can really be devastating. Difficulty in maintaining attention, sometimes impulsivity or hyperactivity, it can lead to frequent failures and rejections. And in turn, that can then reinforce negative beliefs about our abilities. People with low self-esteem may often avoid taking on challenges, or putting ourselves out there because of the failure of judgment. And this can really hinder personal and professional growth and limit us from reaching our full potentials. The cycle continues um, as opportunities get missed, and that reinforces feelings of incompetence, really, sometimes, and unworthiness. Addressing low self esteem is important for our well being, and trying to build a positive sense of identity, encouraging a supportive environment, and fostering self compassion can be very helpful, not easy to do. Anxiety and stress are also common in people with ADHD. Um, and they can be caused by the condition itself, as well as challenges of living with it. Anxiety can lead to worrying about forgetting tasks before we've even tried doing them, or making mistakes, and the stress can come from the pressure to conform with societal norms. Um, these things can be truly exhausting mentally and physically, but it is important to try and seek help. A good ADHD coach or a support group. Difficulty staying motivated. Example of that would be losing interest very quickly in tasks. ADHD makes it hard to stay motivated, and it can lead to procrastination, starting new projects without finishing them, and feeling dissatisfied. Maintaining motivation is an uphill battle. There are a few reasons why ADHD makes it hard to stay motivated. First would be people with ADHD often have difficulty focusing on tasks that we find uninteresting or boring, and it can make it difficult to start and complete tasks, especially if they're long or complex tasks. A secondary item is people with ADHD. We often struggle or have difficulty delaying gratification, and that can lead to us starting many new projects and never finishing them. As they might become, we become distracted by something else that we find more interesting. And finally, people with ADHD, we often have difficulty regulating emotions, and that can lead to feeling dissatisfied with our work, even if we've done a great job. There's a few things that we can try and do to stay motivated. Breaking things down into smaller chunks really does help, but it's very hard to remember to do that. They can make things seem a bit less daunting and more achievable. Setting realistic goals and deadlines is important, and not trying to overstretch, which can hinder us from staying on track. It truly is a problem. Then there's the inconsistency of performance. One day we might excel at doing something and then struggle the next. Oftentimes, things that I've done a million times, I'll suddenly forget how to do them. And people with ADHD often have inconsistent performance, meaning that we can excel at one task and struggle with another, and it can be very frustrating, lead to feelings of guilt and self blame. It is important to remember, though, that inconsistent performance isn't a reflection of our worth or intelligence. It's just a characteristic of ADHD, and there are strategies that might help. To some tips that might have helped some people. Again, the goal setting and breaking things down into smaller steps. Rewarding ourselves for completing a task, no matter how small. Doesn't matter what the reward is. Maybe we give ourselves 5 minutes playing a game, or I don't know, whatever it is. Taking breaks when we need them, avoiding distractions, sleep, healthy diet, trying to manage stress. Difficulty with multitasking, struggling to manage multiple tasks simultaneously. I didn't used to have a problem with this, and a lot of people with ADHD are great at it. But with the head injury, the brain injury, which was caused by multiple head trauma and a history of inhalant abuse, Multitasking is even more of a problem for me now, and it can be one of the worst things with ADHD. Constant struggle to multitask effectively. Um, some people might be able to switch very easily from one task to another and stay focused, but people with ADHD can often find feelings of overwhelm from being unable to juggle multiple responsibilities at once. It's kind of deer in the headlights for many of us, and that can lead to feeling frustrated, feelings of inadequacy as we witness other people having no problem effortlessly handling numerous tasks, um, but we struggle to keep it up. We just can't do it oftentimes. The difficulty of multitasking stems from the brain's inability to properly regulate attention and prioritize tasks. It's like trying to drive a car with a faulty GPS system. You keep getting lost all the time, taking wrong turns, and the demands of trying to focus on multiple things at once can quickly become overwhelming, and that can lead to feeling mentally exhausted and burnt out. Constantly switching between tasks also hinders productivity, as it takes longer, more time for our brains to refocus and switch gears as we move from one task to another. Multitasking, one of the most difficult aspects in that, therefore, with ADHD, and it adds to the strain of dealing with concentration, attention, and organization difficulties. Sensitivity to rejection. This is a huge thing, man. Feeling deeply hurt by minor criticisms. Sensitivity to rejection is one of the under-discussed aspects of living with ADHD, and it can be one of the most challenging ones to navigate. Rejection, whether in social settings and academics or even professional endeavors, can hit people with ADHD very hard. The already heightened emotions and sensitivity often amplify the impact of rejection experiences. People with ADHD, we can tend to invest, or we do invest, a great deal of time and effort into relationships or projects. We get very passionate about things, and we pour our energy into creating connections and delivering high quality work. And as such, when we're faced with rejection or criticism, we may take that personally and feel a sense of failure. That can be very difficult to shake off. This sensitivity can create a cycle where rejection discourages us from taking risks or pursuing new opportunities, and the cycle goes on. Living with ADHD itself comes with its fair share of stigma and misconceptions, and due to the ongoing battle for understanding and acceptance from other people, oftentimes people with ADHD were acutely aware of what it feels like to be rejected based on who we are rather than just our actions. And this added layer makes it every instance of perceived rejection an emotional minefield, as we try not to internalize negativity directed towards us. But on the flip side of that, we can go miles and miles on a little bit of praise or a compliment. Difficulty completing tasks, starting several things and not finishing them. Kind of talked about that already, but it's another aspect of living with ADHD, frustration, completing the tasks. Everyday activities that are effortlessly for other people become a daunting challenge for someone with ADHD. And mundane tasks like tidying the house to more complex projects at work. People with ADHD often find ourselves struggling to maintain focus and being organized. Organization's a nightmare. The struggle to complete tasks rooted in several characteristics of ADHD. One is the poor executive functioning. skills which include difficulties with planning, organization, and prioritizing. Those skills are essential for staying on track and successfully completing tasks. In addition, ADHD can lead to impulsive behaviors, difficulty with time management, and it makes it challenging to stick to tasks for any length of time and to long enough to finish them. That is one heck of an emotional toll. Struggling to complete tasks shouldn't be overlooked. Constantly falling behind on deadlines or leaving projects unfinished can lead to feelings of inadequacy and frustration. It's important for people with ADHD to acknowledge these emotions and seek support when it's needed from loved ones or professionals who can understand these unique challenges. The difficulty in completing tasks is a significant obstacle, and these cognitive impairments associated with the condition can make it harder to stay focused, organized, and committed until a task's completed. By recognizing these challenges and seeking appropriate support systems, we can start to navigate through them more effectively and strive for more personal success. And then finally, for some people, mood swings, rapid shifts from happiness to frustration. For some people, this is probably one of the most challenging aspects. It's the experience of frequent mood swings. People with ADHD often find themselves riding an emotional roller coaster with an unpredictable change in mood throughout the day, each day. One moment you might be very happy and energetic, ready to take on the world, and the next you might be completely overwhelmed by feelings of frustration or sadness. This unpredictability, the unpredictability of these mood swings can be incredibly frustrating, both for those who have ADHD and for people around them. It's like constantly walking on eggshells, never really knowing when a seemingly innocent comment or a situation could trigger an intense emotional reaction. The constant state of flux can lead to strained relationships and difficulty maintaining a stable environment. At times, these mood swings can escalate into full-blown emotional meltdowns, and in those moments, it feels as though all control over emotions has been lost. It can lead to outbursts, which are often disproportionate to the triggering event. And these episodes not only drain the physical and emotion, drain people physically and emotionally, but it also leads to a lot of feelings of guilt and embarrassment afterwards. Dealing with frequent mood swings requires not only understanding but also support from loved ones. It's important to recognize that these shifts in emotions, they're not intentional, and oftentimes they are not within people's control. Or simply a result of our brain chemistry. By cultivating patience and empathy, we can create a safe space where people with ADHD can feel understood, accepted, during even the most of troublesome moments. So that's all for now. I hope that you've enjoyed today's content, and I'll see you tomorrow. As always, take care of your mind. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know in the comments if you're enjoying this content and what you'd like to see more of. Take care. Love you all. Take care of your mind. Bye.